piggy, sir. What you doing? Sit down. Good morning. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And I'm wearing my new Corgi Geek t-shirt, and Tristan is in his necktie to be a Corgi, because today we're going to talk about something medical that I think is of interest to people. I have a new client who came here. He's a Cavalier with multiple health problems. And one of his health problems, freakishly, is not so common in Cavaliers. And that is he has liver dysplasia. And what that actually is hepatic microvascular dysplasia, which means the microvascular system in the liver, hepatic, is displaced or not well developed. And in fact, it's an inherited abnormality of the liver. And in affected dogs, the blood vessels within the liver are undeveloped or even absent in some cases. This is going to decrease blood flow to the liver. It's going to cause atrophy of the liver, so less size of the liver and fewer cells in the liver. And due to that atrophy and decreased blood flow, the liver is not going to process toxins very well, and it's going to produce proteins, or you'll be unable to produce proteins that are needed for growth and development. So this is often seen in dogs that have other liver problems, shunts, things like that. I've worked with a few dogs with shunts and things, not so many with this particular condition. Breeds most commonly affected by hepatic microvascular dysplasia are a lot of terriers: Yorkies, Cairns, Dachshunds, miniature Dachshunds, Maltese, miniature Poodles, Shih Tzu, Lhasa Apso, Cocker Spaniel, and West Highland White Terrier. So this Cavalier probably has some Cocker back in his bloodlines. I don't know, or it could just be from some other things in the environment. So lots of dogs will look just fine, but affected dogs sometimes will not even be detected until adulthood. This little guy is about 1 3/4 years old, so he had an extremely thorough workup because as a Cavalier, he's got cardiac abnormalities, he's got SM, he's got a lot of other things going on, and they found this too when they were looking. So one of the worst problems that this guy had, which happens, is that he ended up with a bladder full of big stones and had to have bladder surgery to remove those stones. Most dogs who have this, if it's severe enough, will have what we call failure to thrive, and they will be very slow to gain weight, and they will get older, showing signs of like vomiting, diarrhea, eating things that are not really edible, like carpet, things like that. My sister had one that her own dog who used to eat the drywall. That would be something not related to a liver problem, but something a dog with this problem might do. So depending on the degree of liver malfunction, they could also get hepatic encephalopathy, which is when toxins build up in the bloodstream and it affects the brain. During that time, you'll have a dog with behavior changes such as head pressing, howling, crying, ataxia, looking wobbly. These are all kinds of things you might see with SM or seizures. So it's hard to know what your dog's really got going on. And in fact, seizures may be another sign of this liver dysplasia. So often you will see these symptoms worse after a high protein meal. So somebody who's trying to do right by a failure to thrive puppy they've adopted may try to feed them a lot of protein, maybe even good protein like rabbit or venison or duck or beef, and end up with a much sicker dog. And I do know another dog who has something like this, and he really can't eat protein at all. He eats lentils and oatmeal. And he's a big dog, but he's not related to any of these terrier kinds. These dogs, similar to a dog with diabetes, are going to be thirstier, and they may urinate more frequently, and they're going to have straining when they urinate because they're going to be prone to constant bladder infections, blood in the urine, and urinary stones, because the liver is a big detoxifier, and if your liver is not detoxifying, what's going to do that job or work overtime would be your kidneys. So, you know, you can usually discover that your dog has hepatic dysplasia by lab results. You know, you're going to look at his liver levels and urinalysis as well. And then often a vet will recommend a pre and post meal serum bile acid test and to look and see what's going on with your dog. So what does this mean to the person that has this dog? This disease cannot be cured, it can only be managed. And managing with supplements can be really helpful. They often recommend milk thistle. This is something that you can get in a tincture. Dogs like it. It's really stinky. I don't like how it smells, but it is proven to be super beneficial to the liver. And so the bare minimum you should do is give your dog milk thistle. You should also feed him SAM-E, which is something I think my sister has on her website, vitamin E, and some other kinds of supplements like that, because you want to keep what liver function you have functioning really well. And as a result of this dog not being able to really process toxins, you're going to make some other bigger changes. And of course, you're not going to breed this dog ever because there is a high genetic component to this. So in terms of your environment, as I told my pet owner, who's new to having a pet actually, no swiffering the floor with any kind of chemicals of any kind. You have to use something pure, like just vinegar and water. Essential oils, you're going to be careful which ones you use with a dog like that in the house. You're not going to use air fresheners. You're not going to use candles. You're not going to wash his bowls in something like Dawn. You're going to have to use a really pure, organic kind of cleaner for your dish soap. And that's going to be for your whole environment. If you're someone who just loves to bury yourself in a perfume or your husband's aftershave, that's also going to be really bad for this kind of a dog. Air fresheners in your car, same thing. No Febrezes in the house. Because what happens is, a dog like that's already, let's say 100% is you're overflowing with toxins. A dog whose liver isn't working, and this goes for a human too, is already at like 90% all the time. So you just eat some Cheetos and breathe some chemicals, clean the windows with Windex, and suddenly you're at 120% and you're crashing because your liver just can't process all these toxins. So you've got to do everything you can to keep that dog in a fresh environment. Keep a window cracked unless you live in Antarctica, just to keep some fresh air circulating so that that dog can get air. Interesting thing about this dog, and his owner noticed this too, he lives on the Cape and it's hot and humid in the summer, he craves the fan. What does the fan do? It pushes clean air at you and it cools you. Part of how you're going to notice this is inflammation. You know, if you have followed my sister at all, you know that there's like hot foods, hot dogs, cold foods, cold dogs. So hot things are inflammation. So this poor guy, because he's got toxins building up all the time because his liver can't clean those toxins, he is going to be constantly inflamed, which means he's going to be hot. Plus, he's a red and white Cavalier, so that makes him hot anyway. So the poor little guy, and she is doing things like freezing water bottles for him to lay on or lay near him, keeping a room extra cold in her house for him. He's not that old. He hasn't had too many winters, but apparently he does love the snow. And, you know, letting him out frequently in the winter, even on the deck to just lay in the snow, can be really helpful for this type of dog. And also, you're going to want to do regular veterinary visits. You might have to go in 4 times a year just to get your liver levels checked to make sure that you don't need to add more supplements, to see if what you're feeding is working out. You're going to have to be on a pretty low protein diet. And to be a dog who needs protein in their diet, like 10%, you're going to have to really tweak that diet so that you're not giving him anything that's not organic, God forbid. It has to be as non-toxic as possible. The best thing for this dog would be rabbit. He is being fed rabbit at this point. And thankfully the rabbits that he's getting are, pure and not chemical laden. And a vet recommended venison for him. That would be great if it's not farmed in a way that makes it, full of chemicals that we would feed other livestock. And as long as it's fresh, I mean, a deer that somebody shoots, sometimes there's lead in it. So, you got to be careful with something like that. But unless you can buy venison that's farmed for dogs, which there are, I'm sure my sister could tell you, places where you can get that product. But you can't just give him a hunk of rabbit. You've got to mix that with some other things that are not going to build up toxins. Oatmeal is something that might be good. Lots of vegetables, lots of draining vegetables, celery, zucchini, things like that. And again, this person's going to really want to consult with somebody like my sister, because this dog's got multiple things going on, and he is going to have to be on no inflammation diet because he's got the SM, which, for those who don't know, it's syringomyelia. It's like spina bifida in a dog. They have a deficit in the covering on the spinal cord at the base of their head, so they're leaking spinal fluid all the time. Yes, headaches. Yes, they don't feel good. And yes, they have kinds of seizures, and they have shooting pain in their body at different points, and scratching at their neck and head, a lot of neurologic symptoms. So you're going to want to keep that dog on just careful watch. And it's not that he can't have a pretty long life. He might have a pretty long life. Some people that this guy's person knows have said, oh, he's so sick, he's got all these things wrong with him, why don't you put him down? But he's happy, he's going around, he likes to pee on everything, and he likes other dogs, and he loves his people, and he likes to eat. No reason to put a dog like that down. I mean, like I said, careful management, you could get a lot of years out of this guy, and the liver problem might not be the thing that's ultimately the biggest issue for him. He's got cardiac issues too. So anyway, liver dysplasia in dogs, something you don't want to find. If you have one of those terrier breeds, you want to probably bring them in twice a year to get their liver levels checked. If your dog's 7 or 8 and never had a problem, no need to worry. But if you've got one that's maybe a year old, you might want to have him checked just to make sure he doesn't have an issue with this. Because if you're not managing it well, you could end up with a lot of problems. So, Corgis, of course, we have our own set of problems. Hi, Tracy. So, everybody, have a great day. Take good care of your pets. We're having beautiful weather in the Northeast today, so we're going to spend some time out enjoying it with the ladybugs that are invading my house. And maybe we'll be back tomorrow. I missed you on Tuesday because I had a very early morning client, plus I didn't feel well, so that was a whole nightmare. I got a concussion a week ago, so my head is intermittently not great. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll possibly see you tomorrow or next week on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everybody. Going to the beach? Wow, you're lucky.